Hey everyone, this is Dave Waldron, audio engineer at Alaska Public Media, and today we are going to be talking about equalizing your audio, so EQing it. Let's go ahead and open Creative Cloud. And again, as I've said in the other videos, if you are using a different version of Adobe, it's not a big deal. All these things can be done in all the versions of Adobe. I think this tool goes back to Cool Edit, so I don't think you can listen to the changes you make in real time or some of the small things, but for the most part, everything I'm going to do today can be done on any version of Adobe. So if you watched the last video, you know what spectral view is all about, this view down here with the red and the pink stuff. If you didn't watch that video, that's okay. It's not the end of the world. Basically, up here, you're looking at loudness, and down here in spectral view, you're looking at pitch or tone. So things will look different and register different in these two different views. It's good to know what spectral view is and what it means if you're going to be EQing, but just kind of as a general rule, you can kind of, I guess, fake it and just use some of these catch-all tools that I'm going to be showing you. But good to research them, and probably good to listen to that last video we did about just spectral view. Okay, so what we have here is a nice clean piece of audio. This is what audio should sound like. This person was recorded in a studio, so you can't really tell any difference up here in the waveform view, the loudness. But down here, if you look in spectral view, you'll see nice bright colors on the bottom. When someone isn't talking, which is right here, you'll have mostly black. You won't have any, see how there's not like a lot of color running through here, because that's the sound of no one speaking in the studio, which should be basically silence. And then you'll have these peaks, which is this person saying, like, making certain sounds like P's or T's and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and listen to what good audio sounds like.
We've had the fourth warmest year on record without an El Nino. That really is a worrying sign for...
So that is the sound of someone's inside of a studio with excellent audio quality. Now, you're not always going to get that lucky. Of course, you're doing a lot of field work and getting a lot of your audio outside of the studio. So what you're going to have to do is, well, a couple things. The first thing you want to do is always make sure you're getting as close to the audio source as possible, because a lot of these tools, we can kind of soften room noise and soften sounds that you don't want. But the best way to get rid of the sounds that you don't want is to be as close to the person speaking as possible. That way, you're picking up the least amount of room noise and excess audio as possible. So let's go ahead and listen to some bad audio. And that's kind of what it looks like in spectral view. You'll notice you don't have this. So I can just tell you right now, this is someone not speaking. And instead of a big black spot there, you have this huge wall of sound, which is just telling me that all this excess sound is running through there. Let's go ahead and listen to what just the room sounds like. So
we're going to have new Republicans.
That's the person talking before and after.
A number of them are leaving the Senate. We're going to have new Republicans.
So you can kind of see where this person's voice is in spectral view. It's right down here, and then he's got these like higher peaks right here. So that's his voice. That's his voice right there. And then this wall of sound is the room, which should look like this when someone's not talking, or something close to that. But instead, that's what we have. Now, there's a couple ways you can clean up audio like this, but the best way by far is the EQ tool. And the EQ tool is just going to say, take these certain frequencies, these ranges. So here you have like 10,000 hertz, 7,000, 5,000. Take these certain frequencies that I don't like and either soften them or just get rid of them entirely. And then leave the ones that I do like, aka everything in this 4,000 and below range, and then maybe some of the slightly higher stuff as well. But really the problem audio is all this stuff up top. So what we're going to need to do is called a high cut. It just means cut out those high frequencies of audio. And the way to do that is to click on Effects up here, and then come on down to Filter and EQ, and then Graphic Equalizer. There's 3 different graphic equalizers you can choose. I just tell people, especially when you're starting, just stick with the 10 bands. It's the simplest one to look at, and it's the simplest one to understand. So click on that. And what we have here, I'll just set it to what it normally looks like, the default This is all those ranges we were just talking about. So 31 hertz is all the way down here, this tiny, tiny little range down here. 63 is down there as well, 125, 250. Once you hit the 1000 range, right over here, that's the 1000 range. 2000 range right here, 2000 range right there, 4000, 8000. This one's 16,000 and above. So everything greater than 16,000. So just as a general rule, I tell people when you're EQing, you can do one thing straight off the bat. And that is you can take these extra low frequencies, these 30 and 60 ranges, and drag them all the way down. And what this is doing when I'm dragging is, I got a phone ringing. What this is doing is just saying, take this range, this 31 hertz range, and drag it all the way to the bottom and minimize the sound that you're hearing. So it's saying drop the decibel level by 24 decibels, which is a lot. And do the same with the 60 range. And the reason I tell people you can always do that with this range is the 60 cycle hum is what it's called. This is like the low rumbling noises that you'll find in your audio that sound kind of like a refrigerator running, or like a bad audio connection for like a microphone at a press conference. So you hear this low rumbling sound. And that sound that you're hearing is always registering in the very, very lowest of frequencies. So you can drop that here. And then the same thing goes for the extra high frequencies. The extra high frequencies have noises like hiss, static, and sometimes like when your audio clips and peaks. All that stuff ends up in this extra high frequency range. So 16,000 and higher, you can do the same thing. So no matter how good or bad your audio is, feel free to take both the lowest of low frequencies and drag them all the way down, and the absolute highest frequency and drag it down. It's only going to make your audio sound better every time. Now, just for our purposes, I'm going to bring this one back up because I want you to hear the bad audio, and I want you to hear it get better as I drop these high frequencies. So I'm going to hit play over here, and the audio will sound terrible. And as I drop this level, the 16,000 hertz range, you're going to hear the audio get a lot better progressively. And I might even dip into this 8,000 range and make that a little softer too, so this person isn't so drowned out by the sound of the room. So let's play.
Ratification, a number of them are leaving the Senate. We're going to have new Republican senators coming in. Not sure what their politics are, their view on the issue. Most senators, I will say, don't want to go on the record on this issue.
Okay, so you probably noticed that the more I took down, the more the room noise went away. That is a good thing to note, and it's also good to note that you never want to take too much out of your frequency ranges, because if you start taking out too much, you're going to create unnatural, muffled sounds that aren't gonna sound good. So you kind of have to find the sweet spot of how much of this range can I take out of the audio before I start cutting into the person's voice and making them sound bad. So you always want to get rid of the extra room stuff, but you also want to preserve the person's voice. And I think right about here is about the best you can do. So I'm going to go ahead and apply that. And if you look at a before and after, so this is after. Let's look at before. See how much brighter it is up here, especially before, and this is after. So it's still there, but it's a lot quieter. And what I'm going to do is, just so I can get a before and after shot, I'm going to take this part and then do the exact same thing that I did before. So I just undid all those changes I made, and now I'm just going to redo them just so that you can get a before and after picture. And the cool thing about the equalizer is that it'll always save the last thing you did. So I'm going to go ahead and make this change now. So you should hear a good difference before and after as far as audio quality goes.
Ratification, a number of them are leaving the Senate. We're going to have new Republican senators coming in. Not sure what their politics are, their view on the issue. Most senators, I will say, don't.
So hopefully you noticed a pretty good change. If not, then let's just go ahead and say we could probably take some more out of there. So let's go ahead and say, so this was already down all the way, the 16,000 range. Let's take this 8,000 range down just a little bit more, because I'm still getting a lot of room noise in there. I'm going to listen so that I know what I'm doing.
We're going to have new Republican senators coming in. Not sure what their politics are, their view on.
I would say that's about as much as we can take out of this person's voice without hurting the way that they sound. We want this guy to sound like he's himself and not like someone else. So, but we also want to get rid of that room noise. Let's take a before and after.
Ratification, a number of them are leaving the Senate. We're going to have new Republican senators coming in. Not sure what their politics are, their view on the issue. Most senators, I will say, don't want to go on the record on.
So hopefully you noticed there especially that, and you can just look at it, there's the before and after shot. So the room is sounding a lot quieter than it was before. Now it's still got noise in it, and unfortunately, because where that frequency lies, that, you know, how I was saying how it should be basically black when there's silence, well, we can't take this range out, because as soon as you start messing with this range, you're going to start hurting his voice, which mostly lies in that range. So you don't really want to take any more out than we already did. Otherwise, this guy's going to sound really weird and muffled. So that's about as much as you can do on the high end. Here we have the opposite problem in this different audio clip. We're going to have too much low frequency. So that low rumble, that hum that you hear in a lot of audio, you'll hear it here big time. Let's take a listen.
In cases where there is a statutory ambiguity as to whether or not a candidate is eligible to...
So you're noticing probably the opposite problem. And if I zoom in really, really close on the low end of things, look way down here. Check it out. Get really, really low. See this bright bar there? I don't know how easy that is to see, but that's that big yellow bar. And you notice that it goes away after a while. This hum only runs through about 6 seconds of the audio, but this bright yellow bar is that low rumble you're hearing.
In cases where there is a statutory ambiguity as to whether or not a candidate is eligible to run for office, the statute should be construed.
So thankfully someone like fixed this audio like about, I don't know, 5 seconds into it. I don't know if the person adjusted something on their end or if this was an effect someone used. I don't think so, because it kind of fades away. I think they just got lucky that the sound went away, but that's the sound of low frequency hum.
In cases where there is a statutory ambiguity.
So if you want to get rid of that, we'll do the exact same thing we did before. I'm going to zoom out. Take this tool. I'll take this big chunk of audio here because I want to have a before and after shot. Go under Effects, go under Filter and EQ, go under Graphic Equalizer, and it already remembered that we want all that low stuff out. I'm going to remove, I don't want to take all that high frequency range stuff out that I was before. I'll leave the 16K alone, but I'm going to leave the 8,000 where it was because this audio sounds mostly good except for that rumble. And because I have these two already dropped all the way down, I know that I'm going to get rid of that rumble. It's going to be pretty much gone. So let's listen.
In cases where there is a statutory ambiguity.
So, yeah, went away pretty much right away. And the first, yeah, I can see it right there. That's where it goes away.
In cases where there is a statutory ambiguity as to whether or not a...
So that rumble is basically gone. And you'll hear that sound a lot just when you're doing your field recordings because that sound appears in a lot of things. A lot of machinery, a lot of appliances, sometimes in nature. If it's in nature, you probably want to leave it alone. You'll just hear it a lot. So it's always good to know that you can remove it with the EQ tool. So that's EQing. I think the next video will be my last, and it's going to be how to remove very specific sounds with noise reduction and hiss reduction tools. So if you've ever wanted to learn how to do that, go ahead and watch the next video. All right, thanks.